Oh my goodness, that took forever. Okay, I think we are now actually finally live. Finally. Sorry, everybody, 15 minutes late, 19 minutes late. That was not cool. Technical difficulties for the stream. Thank you for anybody that's going to come back. I probably lost you all now. But something I've been thinking about quite a bit lately is the expectations of folks out there selling, buying homes, and what their expectations are of someone like me, a real estate agent. And I don't think they are what you think they are. I don't think our duties are what you think our duties are as real estate agents. So much so that what I did is actually typed in to ChatGPT, and I'm going to show you here. I typed in, hey, what are a real estate agent's duties? Or what would reasonable duties for a client to expect? What would they be for a client to expect from their real estate agent? And ChatGPT gave me a list. And then I'm going to show you the actual list because guess what? Spoiler alert, they're not the same. But live stream, Friday afternoon, lunchtime. If you have any questions about the real estate market, please go ahead, type them in. I would absolutely love to come back and answer any questions that you have if you're joining after the fact. Most people do end up joining the stream after the fact. Market's picking up a little bit. It's pretty slow. Listings are actually continuing to stack back up at the moment. We might even crest 8,000 active listings on the market in residential. So it's a crazy, crazy time. But I'm Steve. If you don't already know, I sell real estate here in Surrey in the Fraser Valley of BC. And this is my channel. So please subscribe if you'd like to stay up to date on the market. And also if you want to be educated about the real estate kind of transaction, as it were. Apologies for the late start. Like button for the late start? No, maybe not. Okay. Well, let's see what I can do here. So I'm going to pull up what ChatGPT told me that a real estate agent's duties should be. Let me just see if I can. Can I figure it out? There we go. Okay, so ChatGPT says, hey, James in Kelowna, how you doing? ChatGPT says, first off, and I don't disagree with this, a client would expect that a realtor should provide market insight. No duh. But trust me, you're gonna laugh at what the actual duties of a realtor are versus what the people think, or what ChatGPT, I guess what Google OpenAI thinks that they should be. So provide market insight, of course. That's probably why you're hiring us. You don't understand the market, so you're hiring us for market insight. Iqbal Singh, learning a lot from you. Thank you. I hope you are. I hope you also learn from your agent as well. Unless you're an agent. Maybe you're an agent. Actually, I think everybody that's commented here so far today is an agent. Guide the pricing strategy, both buyers and sellers, right? Guide the pricing strategy for how much do I offer on a home versus how much should I ask for my home. I think that's actually probably the number one. If you asked anybody, what does my agent do? They're going to tell me, or what do I guess I need help with the most? I need to know what to do on pricing and for my purchase or for my sale. Number 3, ChatGPT says, assist in the property search for buyers, of course. I think most people would think that, they're going to rely on their agent to hopefully find them some sort of a secret property. Most of the time, let's face it, we run off of an MLS world right now, even though MLS is getting demonized in so many places. A world without MLS would absolutely suck for you buyers and you sellers out there. So yeah, we would assist in helping you search for a property. That would be ideal. On the other side of that, handling the marketing and advertising for your property when you're going to sell. You want someone who's going to market your property effectively and advertise it all over the place and get it up and running and bring in a buyer. Again, a lot of that has kind of been taken out of the industry. Like, we don't need to necessarily run ads on certain newspapers or websites anymore. Most of the listings are actually funded. That's the wrong word. They're actually put out through the MLS through something called reciprocity. So if it's on the MLS, chances are you're exposed absolutely everywhere. So there's not a lot of strategy anymore into actual advertising dollars going out like there used to be. even just recently. I mean, I stopped a certain subscription service, but the advertising for the subscription service was all about me promoting myself as a realtor and not actually marketing the property. So yeah, people would expect you're handling marketing and advertising for sure. Negotiate the best deal. Absolutely. Everybody wants the best deal. Everybody's going to want to negotiate the best deal. I think you want a shrewd negotiator. I definitely know that there's a massive difference in negotiation. And I think where people kind of get it wrong with negotiation is they think like getting the best price is the negotiation, or getting the highest price or the lowest price is the negotiation. But in reality, when I'm dealing with a lot of my colleagues out there that don't have a lot of experience, a lot of the negotiation is just they don't know how to put the deal together. They don't know what to tell their clients. They don't know what to tell me about their clients. So they don't know how to actually negotiate the best deal. I was just dealing with a deal today, and let me tell you, it's evident. Actually, I'm dealing with two I'm thinking about. It's evident that one of the people is very new and don't exactly know what's going on, and the other one is presenting the facts in order to get a very hard deal together. So it's negotiation is more than just price. Don't focus just on that price. Managing paperwork and legal requirements. This is kind of true. Of course, we're going to manage all of the paperwork. I think most people would expect that. Legal requirements, yeah, I'm going to suggest that that's probably not actually what we do at all, and we probably shouldn't be giving any legal requirements. I guess there is, I mean, we have to know what's legal and not legal, but we can't actually give any legal advice. So one of our duties that you're going to see coming up in the next one, I won't spoiler alert that yet. But obviously, managing paperwork, big part of it. Coordinating inspections and appraisals. That's what we do. We're the guy that can figure out how to phone an appraiser or an inspector and get them in the door, right? Really challenging stuff. But of course, yeah, you're going to want an inspection. Now, coordinating inspection, often I want to be there at an inspection with my clients to kind of walk them through the process. And this is, again, where kind of the negotiation side of things, when I come across an agent that doesn't know what they're talking about, a deal can fall apart on inspection just because there's nothing wrong with the property, but the buyer, for instance, gets scared about something going on in the property. They get scared about aluminum wiring, which I think is a legitimate concern. They get scared about poly B, which I don't think is a legitimate concern in most cases. So these are the types of things that you have to be able to walk your client through. But coordinating it, sure. I mean, ideally, anybody can set the time for an inspection or an appraisal. Provide trusted referrals. This is a massive one. It's actually kind of going to be on the next list a little bit. But let's get serious here. A lot of agents don't understand that this is such a big factor in your business. Providing good lawyers that can close the deal, providing good home inspectors, providing good mortgage brokers, even providing people to help paint before or after the transaction. Like, these are really big deals for a lot of people. And for instance, my business partner for many, many years, Chris, before he retired, he ran his entire business off of providing trusted referrals. People were like, Chris knows everybody. Chris knows the guy I need. So I think that's a great thing. I think a lot of agents definitely should be providing that, whether or not, most people expect that. I don't necessarily know. Ensure clear communication. This is actually one of the closest ones to on the real list of what we're supposed to do, but I'm going to get to that here shortly. But yeah, obviously, most people want clear communication, and I guess just frequent communication could be another thing. Facilitate a smooth closing. In BC, we don't necessarily, closings generally mostly happen at the lawyer's office. We don't deal a lot with the closing. We deal with possession, which is a different thing. I kind of wish we didn't deal with possession half the time, but we do. So yeah, I think these are realistic expectations of the public of what a realtor does. However, for the most part, this list, we're not obligated to do at all. So now I'm going to show you what we are obligated to do. Let's pop into the chat here real quick. All agents still, is that you? Did you get buyer leads that converted from Zolo or REW? I've definitely used at least one of those services, and buyer leads that come through those services are garbage. So don't waste your money there, agents. I have a whole podcast we just did recently on that with a lady from the Listed app. And let me tell you, there's a lot of money being siphoned out of real estate agents for really crappy internet leads. Don't tell me I'm biased, eh? They're kind of crappy. That's why I like doing this, because I like to meet, obviously, agents are watching. They might send me referrals. They often do. Or I might help out a member of the public. Hopefully, we have more members of the public watching as well. Okay, so now that we've gone through that, main camera, there we go. Yay, I'm back. Now that we've gone through that, those are what the public thinks about what I should be doing, or what your agent should be doing, or what their duties really are. But let me tell you, that is definitely not the case, because we are governed as real estate agents. I'll hop back in here. It's going to show me the right thing. By the Real Estate Services Act and the Real Estate Services Rules. And we actually have, I believe it's 8 particular things that we have to do as agents. So you can complain about us if you don't like the transaction, and you might say, oh, they didn't market it this way or that way. But these are the things that particularly you're going to want to focus on, or I guess even the BCFSA would focus on if you lodged a complaint and say, okay, did they do these things, yes or no? Because these are the actual duties. Now, I believe it's section 30. There it is right there. Duties to clients. Duties to clients. Let's start here, down at the bottom, so it's not behind my big fat head. Pretty simple one first. Our first duty, act in the best interest of your client. That's what I got to do. I'm a fiduciary. I have to act in your best interest. Kind of funny, because half the time my clients don't act in their own best interest, in my opinion, but I have to do what is in your best interest. And often you get to dictate what's in your best interest. I don't get to dictate what's in your best interest. So I have to do what you tell me to do, right? I have to think about your situation and help you. At the same time, as the next thing I do, act in accordance with lawful instructions from a client. Now, this one's really actually a lot tougher than people think, because the ideas that people have about how they want to transact with their real estate often break the law. And then what we have to do is we have to correct them and say, no, we can't do it that way. If you instruct me to do that, I have to walk away from being your agent. Let me give you an example. We're also bound by confidentiality, which makes this even tougher. I walked one time into a property, and we were listing that property, and I was filling out what we call the property disclosure statement. And at that time, when I filled out the property disclosure statement, there's a question in BC, have you ever grown marijuana in your home? And of course, everybody says no, except for these people who said, of course we did. Everybody has a grow up. And I'm like, what? That's not no. And they said, well, we're not going to tell anybody that. And I said, well, no, you have to tell everybody that. And specifically, now that you've told me, we have to tell everybody that. And they said, no, we're not telling anybody that. And we're not disclosing that we had a grow up. And so I promptly removed myself from the situation. And I said, I'm sorry. Obviously, the conversation's a lot larger than this. But I said, I'm sorry. I'm not going to represent you. I cannot represent you and lie to a buyer because you've had to grow up. You've told me you had to grow up. And this is where it got difficult. I lost the listing. I didn't make any money off of that. I threw a bunch of money into the marketing actually in advance, and they didn't tell me this until after. The problem lies where I have to keep completely confidential everything in the transaction, like they're my clients. So I have to work in their best interest. But I had to walk away. What they did is they hired another guy unsuspecting, and they absolutely lied to him about it. And the property was never sold as a grow up. And if I were to tell on them, which I wish I could have been able to do, I would have gotten in trouble for breaching my confidentiality. So we have to act in accordance with lawful instruction. In other words, you tell me what to do it. If it's legal, I have to do it. Here's an interesting one. Act only within the scope of the authority given by the client. So I'm only allowed to do what you tell me to do. Now, that doesn't really help you a lot of the time because you don't know what I need to do in order to get a lot of homes sold. But in particular, if a client says to me, this is one thing you have to do, I got to do it. They want that. I got to do it. And they may not want me to, again, perform, I guess, all of the things that I know are most successful to get a home sold. But if they ask me, hey, I don't want a sign in the front yard because I don't want my neighbors to know I'm for sale, not exactly a great marketing strategy, but we have to do it. So we can only act within the scope of authority given to us by the client. Here, this is one where we're talking about, I guess, advising legally before. It's not actually what we have to do. What we have to do is we have to tell you as the client to go get independent advice of whatever expertise that is. If it's GST, you got to talk to an accountant or a tax lawyer. If it's legal advice about something, you got to go talk to a lawyer. If it's whatever it is, a home inspection, something goes wrong, I need to find out some particular thing, septic system's bad, I have to advise you to go find a septic expert to figure out what's going on. So a lot of what I do all day long is say, listen, we've identified there's probably a problem here. Now you need to go find the right person to help guide you through that because my scope is only so large in regards to how to walk you through. Now, luckily, I have experience and kind of can guide people in the right direction of where they start looking. Because what am I supposed to do? Septic system's no good. Okay, go find a septic inspector. Bye. Well, no, obviously, we're going to know septic inspectors. Here's 3 you got to pick from. You got to do your research, find out which one you like, kind of work through that. Here's a question. Should I go to a question? Maybe. Hey, Steve, just curious if your listing commission is fixed or varying from property to property, client to client. Great question. I believe I'm probably one of, let's take a break from this screen for a bit and you can see my beautiful face. Ta-da. I probably am one of the only agents that I know of that puts my commission model on my website, my commission models on my website, along with a commission calculator. So you can see how those relate to your home and selling prices and all of that stuff. So do I vary them from listing to listing? I guess kind of. What we do differently than a lot of agents is we offer choice. We have a package that we call our exposure package that, I mean, it's for the people that say my home's going to sell itself. I just need you to write up the contract, put it on MLS and, take the photos. Great. I don't want to turn away that business. If you think your home's going to sell itself, I have a package for that. If you want a professional package, I have one for that. We also have a herein package of which when we track the numbers year after year after year, those properties sell for more with a higher commission model. And if you're interested in selling your house, I can tell you more about that. But it is true. It does happen. Happens every year. It's about 1% more in the higher commission models. Your home will actually sell for more. And it has nothing to do with me making more, believe it or not. Okay, let's go back to the desktop. Maintain the confidentiality. This goes back to what I was saying before about lawful instruction. I can't, if I learn something about somebody, about one of my clients, I can't disclose that to anybody without their permission. So one of the number one questions we get when you're walking into a property is some buyer walk in, why are they selling? I have the same stock answer. Couldn't tell you if I wanted to. And by the way, I don't want to. Unless the clients say to me, hey, you can let them know that, we're just downsizing, whatever the case is. Doesn't really matter. But absolutely everything has to be remaining confidential for my clients. This is where divorces get really, really tough, because if you're the listing agent for a divorce, you're technically equal to the buyer, or to the husband and wife, let's say. You're technically equal, so you can't keep anything confidential. So if it's a really messy divorce, you want two separate agents under something called separate representation. So confidentiality is a big one. Unfortunately, there's just trying to be nice, and a slip of the tongue happens here and there, and people would say things like, well, they're moving on, or they bought a place, or whatever. So confidentiality is absolutely a big one. Let's go down here. Disclose to the client all known material information respecting the real estate services and the real estate and the trade to which those services retain. So we have to disclose everything. This is where the confidentiality thing can come into play, where you're saying, like, I have to disclose that I learned that the husband's, moving in with your ex-best friend or whatever, but I can't. So that's where it gets really messy, right? That could change the motivation in the sale. But yeah, it's our duty to disclose everything. Like when something comes to me, I have to tell my clients about it in regards to either the property they're buying, or a property they want to buy, or the property they're selling. So for instance, if I learn about something about a buyer's motivation, I can't really ask, but if I learn something about a buyer's motivation, it's my job to actually tell my seller, hey, this person is or isn't motivated in this manner. They have to buy. They told me they already sold, whatever it is. I have to disclose all of that all the way along. So it's all about making sure everybody is informed, and specifically my clients. Now, where things kind of get a little gray in the real estate industry is we are not like lawyers, where you go meet us in the office for the first time, you realize that's your lawyer. We're out in the field. So a lot of people will come into an open house and just start blabbering. And that's why we have things like certain disclosures that we have to go through, and why open houses are a very, very bad thing for you as a buyer to go in, because anything you say can and will be used against you in a negotiation. So everything must be disclosed. All material information must be disclosed. Now, this is where the ChatGPT list starts to overlap a little bit. Communicate all offers to the client in a timely and objective and unbiased manner. So, you must communicate all offers in a timely manner. Something that's been pissing me off lately is agents that are like, hey, it's noon. I'm going to send you an offer. It's open till 3 p.m. What are you trying to do, right? Like, I have to try and communicate that in a timely manner. But if I'm in another appointment, or if I'm in a training class, or if I'm on a wonderful stream here with you, I may not be able to do that. So we do have to communicate everything in a timely manner. You can't just push an offer off. And then you have to do those things also objectively and unbiased. That's a tough one. When you think about it, if I receive 2 offers, for instance, and I know one buyer is working with a good agent, and they're pre-approved, and they're all cash, and this is a good solid buyer. And then I have another one who, this is the guy's first transaction. He has no idea what's going on. He met these guys on the internet 10 seconds ago. He doesn't know their financing situation. Am I presenting that in a biased or unbiased manner? Well, I mean, hopefully that's objective, but I definitely would say maybe I am going to bias my client towards a deal that's actually going to come together for them. So it's a really tough one. Now, I think what they're referring to, for instance, is if you have a friend that's writing an offer as a realtor, guy in the office, and you're trying to bias them that way. I totally understand that. But I mean, when I'm presenting an offer for my client, I'm going to try and bias those sellers as much as possible to think that my clients are the best people on the planet, even if they're not, right? So It's definitely, I understand what they're trying to say, but I actually think there's a lot of bias that does come into a real estate transaction just by trying to identify which offer or which home is the right one. Use reasonable efforts to discover relevant facts respecting any real estate that the client is considering acquiring. So it is our duty to not only get the information on the house you want to buy, but maybe information on a house that you maybe might want to buy. This is, I think, where a lot of agents do fall short. When you're purchasing a home, a lot of them just rely on the information provided by the listing agent, and that's it. I actually had one the other day where the guy said to me, I provided him occupancy permit from like 10 years ago, all the permits pulled since then, all these different things from City Hall. And he's like, what is this? And I'm like, it's an occupancy permit? And he's like, I've never seen this before. I'm like, you've never been provided an occupancy permit before? And that was me providing him. So that means his buyers throughout ever have never seen an occupancy permit. He's never gone to the city when he wasn't provided one by the listing agent and tried to retrieve it. So it is your job as a realtor to discover facts about a property. One guy I can think of in the office, he uses the inspection time. Remember from before the ChatGPT thing, set up an inspection. He uses that inspection time to go through the data input form, the MLS listing, and make sure all of the information supplied is correct. So you've got a little highlighter, questions, highlights any things that may or may not be correct and verifies them. Great agent. Take reasonable steps to avoid a conflict of interest. Yeah, no doubt. We have to avoid as much conflicts of interest as possibly can. There is something in BC real estate now that is nowhere else, which is the removal of limited dual agency. Takes away most of the conflict, takes away 90% of the conflict of interest. But then you have to, there is degrees of conflict of interest. So let's use an example. I went to high school with somebody. They are now buying a property that I have listed. I'm like, hey, remember when we used to get drunk in the park together? Yeah, but that's all I know about them. Is that really a conflict of interest? I don't think so. But if it's my best friend that wants to buy one of my listings, I know a lot about my best friend, and likely I cannot avoid that conflict. And then what's the varying degree in the middle? You know the neighbor down the street, he's got a pretty good job. He wants to buy your listing. These are the types of things that we need to understand and see where those conflicts are. And then there are some conflicts that you cannot avoid. If a conflict of interest does exist, you must promptly, fully disclose the conflict in writing and separately from the service agreement you already have. So you don't if there is a conflict, you don't necessarily as an agent have to walk away completely from the transaction, but you may. And you do have to disclose any conflict in writing. So we as agents have to disclose, if we buy a property, we have to disclose that we have a license. If my relatives are buying a property, I have to disclose, depending on how distant the relative is, that they are my relative always has to be disclosed. But then, do I actually have any, real connection to them with the disclosure of interest in trade? So believe it or not, those are the requirements. That is, by law, all your agent has to do for you. You notice there's nothing here that talks about marketing or signs or photos or fluffing the pillows or any of the things that people think they're getting from real estate agents. A lot of that is just simply not there. Maybe what I'll do is I'll give an opportunity for anybody watching to type in a comment. If you have any questions, you want to talk about the market, I can give a bit of a summary on that now. But yeah, it's not what people think legally. I hope on this list, any agent you do hire is doing all of these things, but it's not a requirement. So you need to understand what your requirements are, and those activities that your agent must do for you, and then the ones you expect them to do that are not required at all. So something to consider, something I've been wanting to get off my chest, because the public does not know or understand what it is we do, what we're required to do. We are there to facilitate the transaction. Believe it or not, all this marketing stuff is kind of like added bonuses. if you think about it. Hi, Steve. No disrespect to agents. I smell a butt coming. But buyer's agent is a useless job. You are wrong. You've hired the wrong people. I can understand seller's agent because they market, do open houses. You could not be more wrong. No disrespect. It's definitely no disrespect to you either. But if you think a buyer's agent is doing nothing, you have hired absolutely the wrong people all the way through the process, and you're actually the one that's bad at hiring. A buyer's agent does 10 times the work that a listing agent does. A listing agent is there to screw you. That's what my job as a listing agent, more money out of you, the buyer. So you better have an agent that's there to protect you. You say, oh, they don't do anything. Yeah, I do agree that a lot of them are untrained. I do agree a lot of them don't know how to show value. I do agree a lot of them don't do a lot. But to say that a buyer's agent is useless just goes to show how much you probably don't know about the transaction. So it's super, super, super important that you do hire well and that you do know what you're doing and that your agent's working. There is one thing I absolutely hate. I hate this. I hate getting a call from a buyer saying, my agents, I know I need an agent because BC requires it. My agent is too busy, or I don't want to bother my agent, so you can just show me the house because it's your listing. That's the equivalent of phoning up a lawyer and saying, listen, I know your client's suing me, but my lawyer, he's busy. How about I come in? We'll talk about it for a bit. And then when we need to go to court, my lawyer will come along. Like your buyer's agent is going to get paid a ton of money. Well, maybe not a ton of money. Depends on the level of property you're going to buy. But your buyer's agent's going to get paid for doing their job. And if they're too busy for you, you need to hire a new agent. That's why I work on a team, because yes, I'm busy marketing homes as a listing agent. I spend most of my time marketing homes and negotiating offers. And I need my team. I rely on Chandani and Eric to show my buyers and then do a lot of the back work. Like we'll sit down with a buyer's file and kind of go over everything, but my agents are doing all the running around because it's a ton of work if they're doing it. If they're not doing it, I mean, you hired wrong. You hired bad. That's it. Let's see what everybody says about my rant now. There's only 21 of us watching right now anyway. So if you're watching, I expect at least 21 likes because I finally got this thing going. It was 20 minutes late, but I got a new computer. So we were doing the weekly podcast, the Tom Story Show, and it was taking me like half an hour to render a video and get it out. And Tom just told me to buy a new computer, so I did it. And it didn't stream today. So thanks for coming on. Buyer's agent is not useless. Lots of documents are to be obtained. Things look out for. Yeah. Actually, one thing I put up on my channel, I have a title review video coming out here pretty quick, which is just as boring as this video, but super important. And I put up a little poll. You can probably see it. I think it came out this morning. And it was like 9 or 10% of the people said title review is not important to the real estate transaction. I'm like, wait a minute, but that's what you're buying. The title is literally what you're buying. The property just comes along with the title, but you're buying the piece of paper that says the title and you don't want to review it? Not important. Don't worry about that. The curtains. What are they, stone countertops? That's what matters. What does your Schedule A look like? It's about this big. White piece of paper, bunch of words on it. My experience has been they just keep sending me MLS listings, coordinate meetings, finally just draft the offer. Okay, so your experience has been maybe this is a great thing. I wish there was a real username on there. It's just numbers. If your experience is that the agent just sends you listings, that is something to try and kind of set a hook, but the agent's not very good at setting the appointment in order to be hired. Here's where my team differs. If you're hiring us and you say, hey, Steve, I watched you on YouTube. I want to go see this property. Okay. That's not where we start. When you hire my team, our first meeting should never, ever, ever be in a property. It doesn't make any sense. We have a phone call. We discover if we like each other. If I don't like you, I'm going to tell you, hey, man, you're barking up the wrong tree. I had that call not long ago. I had a guy phone me up, and he wanted to know where it was okay for white people to buy in Surrey because he was racist. And I said, we are not going to work well together. So let's end this conversation now. So that's step one. Then we're going to set up, you're going to have a call with a mortgage broker, either your mortgage broker, which is fine, or my mortgage broker that I'm going to refer you to. We got a bunch of great options. Then we're going to find out what you can finance. After we know where your budget is, then we can get together and we put together a plan. On average, as a buyer's agent, myself and one of my team members will sit down with the client for 1 to 2 hours, and we discover not only what's important to them in the transaction, educate them on the transaction, but come up with a full comprehensive plan. Only at that point do we go out looking at properties. On our team, if you're seeing 5 or 6 or 7 properties, you're probably buying one of them because we've done 2 hours worth of work in advance to find out what's important to you or not important to you. And that's 2 hours like face to face, not to mention all the background research and stuff that we're doing. So if you're just getting listings, you haven't hired a realtor. You haven't hired anyone. You're basically, just taking whoever will take you, and you don't want to sign a commitment. And I mean, why should you sign a commitment? They haven't shown you any value. That I get. That I totally get. So then I say in that buyer's presentation, we call it our cheesy buyer's presentation. We sit down, we actually show you how you hire us. We show you how we get paid. We talk about commission. We talk about how much we're going to accept. We talk about what happens if there's overages or underages, not a word, on our fees, all things that need to be discussed. Here's the other thing that agent that's just sending you those drip emails is doing. They're probably not telling you how much they're getting paid. And that's a problem. So you should always have those discussions. Man, this is a bit of a rant. What a great kind of question. You can do that via ZLT. Yeah, you can go on ZLT. No offense, but ZLT, Zillow, Zolo, NEZ, you all suck. You're terrible. They are not good websites. You should be searching on realtor.ca, and that is it. Now, when you find the property, I understand realtor.ca doesn't necessarily have all of the best information. So you may want to take that information and go to eValue. You may want to go to Surrey Cosmos. You may want to go to all these different sites to try and find more details, find out where the school board is, the school catchment is, all that stuff. I get realtor.ca doesn't have the best information, but they have the properties. They're not promoted to you one over another because that agent's paying more, or they're not, paying to get their face on it or whatever. So anybody that searches publicly outside of realtor.ca, I think you're doing it wrong. And I'm going to, wrap up with this. Let me know if you have any final questions. If you're watching on repeat, I will come back and try and answer any questions that you may have. But let's talk now a little bit about the market. Man, is it scattered. I had a deal last week that went into multiple offers, first day on the market, crazy over the asking price, overshot. I listed at $50,000 higher than I thought it should be, and overshot that by $75,000. So that particular product, red hot. Other ones are getting some lowball offers. Other ones are getting good offers, and a lot of listings are getting nothing at all. And that's just because the economy is getting weaker. It's going to continue to go that way for a while. And I really don't think, you're going to see a ton of crazy activity over the next little bit, but things are picking up for sure. Bear with me a second here. I'm going to do a live count. I'm not going to show you my schedule, but I'm going to show you. So we have, I want to say 12 active listings at the moment. And in the last week, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 showings on about 12 listings, something like that. So not super busy. It's not like 35 showings like we used to have per listing per weekend. But the market's picking up a little bit. It feels to me to be a little bottomy might be the wrong term, because I think there's still some ways to go in some markets for prices to continue to come down. But anything that's decent is usually selling pretty quickly. The stuff that is not selling tends to be problem buildings and condos, tenanted properties. Lord help you right now. If you have a tenanted property you're trying to sell, put another keep the tenant in and wait till they move out in order to sell it, because tenanted properties right now, buyers are just not interested in. It's just a pain to get them out, and they're messy. Like, tenants are messy. It's the way it is. It's unfortunate, but most it's really, really tough. That being said, if I just had a lot of success with the tenanted properties, what the heck am I talking about? I don't know. It is kind of all over the place, though. There's busy spots. What you cannot do, though, right now is you may not, I think, ask too much. I really don't think you can ask too much and expect any sort of a decent offer to come in. People are not begging to get into certain properties, or most properties right now. There's a few certain ones. Like I said, I had multiple offers last week, went crazy. But anybody that says I'm not selling unless I get this price, please just don't put it on the market. You should be good. Look at that. An unnamed YouTube realtor is giving me a call right now. I'm not going to answer it. It's not Tom's story. All right. Well, that's it. I think I'm going to leave for the day. I appreciate everybody joining me here for my very late and therefore, unfortunately, shorter live stream than I would have liked earlier in the day. I'm going to try and continue to do these once every month or so. Hey, maybe in the future I can get some guests back. But right now, all my guests are not willing to hang out with me. So I'm here by myself. And thankfully, I didn't ask anybody to come today because I would have been in bad shape. James, one day you should come on the live stream and tell us what's happening on the old Kelowna front. Okay, thanks so much for watching. Have a great weekend. Market's okay. That's about it. Know what your realtor's supposed to do for you. And don't hire bad realtors. Hire good realtors. Talk to you later. Like, click, subscribe.